Reigning in light, beauty. Beauty is subjective. It lies in the eyes of the beholder. Beauty is open to opinion and interpretation. Beauty can bring us together and it can divide us. True beauty lies deep within, and it is not solely on our surface. The standards and thoughts of beauty have changed over time and may continue to change, and hopefully so much so that everyone will appear to be beautiful, and to everyone, and especially if they're kind. This sort of beauty is without filters. Humans created filters in just the same as filtering our water to remove all that we don't want. When we consider filters in photos, what happens when we're without them? Will we be secure and confident enough to carry on? When we think of beauty, we think about shapes, colors, and forms that aesthetically please the majority. The majority, unlike the concept of beauty, has changed over time. Beauty can be a rush. It can be a high. But of all the highs, there may be none higher than that of peace. Peace is freedom, and freedom is joy. Peace, freedom, and joy of our mind, body, and spirit is beautiful. And it glows, and so much so that others see and value this light of true beauty. True beauty is undeniable. True beauty can sometimes be the underdog. Deep breaths in and slow breaths out. Breathe in kindness. Allow it to fill our insides and run over our outsides. Breathe in and out. If we're able to, and if we prefer, we can close our eyes. Continuing to breathe while visualizing our idea of beauty. Deep breaths in, slow breaths out. Visualize how we match up to our own standards. Let us become comfortable with our face and all parts of it. Deep breaths in, slow breaths out. Let us become comfortable with our hair. All of the strands, or lack thereof, the texture, the sensation, and the feel. Deep breaths in, slow breaths out. Let us become comfortable with the shape, tone, structure, and length of our body. Deep breaths in, slow breaths out. Let us become comfortable with and in our own skin. There are zero mistakes with our design. The mistakes may have come later, and when comparisons have been made, or a wish for change have been made, or a denial of certain equalities or privileges were made, or a lack of appreciation for the way that we look was evident. Deep breaths in, slow breaths out. Let us not make their mistakes. Breathe in our beauty. Beauty can be cultural, it can be regional, it can be invisible, and it can be taught. Beauty being taught to us means that we learn, observe more from others, or follow how others have defined beauty. This isn't a bad thing if we've been taught by someone who values the beauty in all and through diversity, inclusion, and tolerance. Sometimes beauty comes and becomes a trend, and just like clothing and shoes, it becomes what's in season. Big nose, small nose, wide eyes, tight eyes, large forehead, tiny forehead, huge ears, micro ears, short hair, long hair, curly or straight, skinny or fat, short or tall, dark or light, crooked teeth, straight teeth. It's all okay. We look how we look. Be the best that we can be. When we think about life overall, we realize how short it is, and what a shame it would be to waste it being defined by someone else's depiction of beauty. How absurd would that be? How absurd would it be to hide ourselves or not appreciate the many parts of our body? If we've wasted any time not liking ourselves or trying to change ourselves, it's about time that we stop. Like all things except for our spirit, it is all temporary anyways. Our looks will fade as time passes. What was light will become dark. What's dark may become light. What was small may become big. What's big may become small. What's robust may become flat. And on and so forth and so forth. And back and forth. If the spirit is the only lasting piece in ourselves, why not completely invest in it? The chances are high that people will forget how we look, but it's unlikely that they will forget how we make them feel. Know that people tend to give attention to what we give attention to. People focus on our insecurities when we highlight them. We're talking about confidence here. Confidence is simply walking in truth, our truth. And the truth is, we are beautiful just the way we are. If we're confident, we're able to wear it, and this will be what others take from us. Believe in ourselves, in our journey, in our pursuit, and in our goals. Give meaning to our lives by building ourselves up, by challenging ourselves to live better, and by practicing grace. Thankfully, confidence is something that we can work on each day. One way that we can grow confidently is to be okay with confronting our negative thoughts. Make time for an excursion through our mind. Whether or not we question our beauty, get to know ourselves a little bit better. If confidence is about trust, know that the only way we can truly trust ourselves or anyone else is by truly knowing ourselves or them. On the excursion, we can confront why we think the way we think of ourselves and if it's helpful. If we think good of ourselves or not so good. We can question whether or not we're responsible for our own concept of beauty and what that concept may be based on. It is time that we add value to our own life. And by knowing our self-worth, of all that we may stress over, let our image in the mirror not be part of that stress. If we're going to accept all of ourselves, our history, and our today, let's do one of the most beautiful things that we can ever do for ourselves. Let's accept our image. Let's walk in it. Let us define ourselves in such a way that when everything changes, our beauty inside remains. Defining ourselves could be a thought that we hold for a while. We may have heard a time or two the question of how do we want to be remembered. We might even know many answers to this question. What about the question of how do we define ourselves? Or even better, what defines us? Are we defined by material goods? Are we defined by monetary wealth? Are we defined by our friends? Are we defined by our siblings, by our parents, or by our children and their accomplishments? Or are we defined by our careers? Are we defined by intimate relationships? Are we defined by our physical attributes, medals, awards, or other accolades? While all of the above may be beautiful, is it enough to satisfy our soul? Is it enough to fill our soul? If it's not, it's time to consider our higher selves and possibly in conjunction with our higher power. When we think higher, we think raising the bar. We think higher standards and not settling for anything less than the best of ourselves. Our expectations of things and for others are raised. This is our life enhanced and because our beauty has been redefined and by us. True beauty is of quality. It is good character. It is without judgment of the skin, hair, faces, shapes, sounds, and statuses of others. True beauty is style, and not the style of how we dress, but of how we walk, how we talk, how we give, and how we take. In this life, we should be rocking our own style and realizing that it isn't necessarily what we do or what we have, but it's how we do it all. Do you means so much here. Let us be stylish with our choices, making conscious decisions to weigh the cost and benefits. Let us wear ourselves well and while reigning in light.